All right, and we're off. Hello, this is the Positive Masculinity podcast. I am starting it as of now to try to define and kind of draw out what we think positive masculinity is and how we can kind of redefine it for future men, especially young men who can, in order to make a better groundwork for them to try and better themselves. I think in a way that is more generic, in the same way that femininity has been redefined for women. And every week, I'm going to try and interview a new person in my life and hopefully eventually more famous people that I think that have their own views on masculinity. And yeah, so this week is my first week. I'm interviewing my really, really good friend, Isaiah Salesin.
Hello, nice to meet everyone.
Thanks, Isaiah. I really appreciate you starting this with me.
Yeah, no problem, bro.
Yeah, of course. So yeah, I have some like preset questions that I've already sent to Isaiah, so you can think about them and have some pretty good answers to them. And essentially,
Yep.
what we're gonna go through is we're gonna talk a little bit about each question, and then at the end, when we have extra time, Isaiah is going to be able to talk about anything he wants to talk about relating to masculinity. So yeah,
Cool.
all right.
All
So
right.
so the
Well,
first
full dis. Oh yeah, go for it.
sorry. Oh, never mind. I was going to start the interview. So you go first.
Oh, I was just gonna say, full disclosure. I proceeded to look at that list of questions, say, yeah, I'm totally gonna, think about that later, and then now here I am, and I don't think I thought about it later, but
That's
I think
okay.
I can still answer them on the fly. So.
That's okay. I mean, you and I talk a lot, so I mean, I know you can answer all these questions.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of these discussions before.
What
So
was it you said? Oh yeah, these should be softball questions. Nothing too crazy or
yeah,
intimidating.
no, no, no. I
Yeah.
think these questions are designed to be pretty softball, except for like one question is like, I guess, kind of controversial, but it's still like a softball controversial question, I think.
Interesting. I guess we'll get to that question when we get to it.
Yeah. So just start with your life story. Tell everyone that's not me about yourself. How about that?
Totally. I guess I'm trying to figure what exactly should I include? Like, how long of a life story? We talking
Um,
like 1 minute, the 5 minute?
I think just whatever you need to do, focusing on the, I guess, visceral and important parts of your life, right? So you don't need to go over like when I was five, like I peed my pants or something like that, right? Obviously, right?
Fair. Yeah, yeah,
um, like
totally.
especially those important moments relating to masculinity or like these crazy life changes, because I know you've had a lot of crazy life changes in a good way, and you're still finding yourself and you're doing great. And I think that's important for people to know and understand of your background coming into all these questions.
Totally. Yeah, I guess I'm just trying to figure. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I'm still trying to figure what to include and what not to. Wow, I really should have read this over before. But basically, I was born in Seattle, and I grew up there until right before middle school. Then my parents were split up at that point, but we all moved. We moved to Berkeley, California, and I went through middle school and high school there. I went to very, very small schools. I went to a small school in middle school, and then I think about four schools in high school. The last of which I spent my last 3 years in high school at. Um,
So your freshman year, you went to three different schools, is what you're saying.
yes, I went
That's
to three
okay.
different schools my freshman year
Um,
of high school.
and do you mind me asking why? Or
Let's see. Basically, I suppose that I probably hadn't taken, a few years back, I hadn't taken the move super well from Seattle. And when I moved to Berkeley, I didn't have many friends, and I was definitely bullied a lot in middle school. Um, so, yeah, I guess I was trying to, I found myself in a new social situation. Excuse me. And I guess I was trying to do anything I possibly could to fit in, and school really just wasn't part of that equation. That's probably the shortest answer I could give to that.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I went to the University of Arizona for my first run through college, and I studied engineering for about a year and a half, 2 years, something like that. Then I bounced around through various STEM majors and ultimately dropped out during the pandemic. Worked food delivery, started supporting myself with food delivery, got really into cars and working on cars, and did a little bit of closed course autocross, and eventually I got to start doing a little bit of drifting when I got some support from family rent. Obviously the excess went to motorsports because you know
Yeah.
what else is Isaiah gonna do? And then I basically realized I was like, wow, like if I want to keep doing this stuff and I want to have a life and get to do everything interesting that I want to do, I need like a real career. And I guess I just kind of figured at the time that Arizona, I kind of gamed it all out long term, and I realized that I was pretty established in Tucson, but that it might not have been the smartest decision to try and stay there long term. For the rest of my life, plan out a career and buy a house and all that stuff over there. So I moved back to Washington and started school here. So now I'm studying psychology. I'm about, let's see, a year and some change into a degree that'll take me another year and some change. And yeah, just living the dream.
Awesome. I mean, I think your life story doesn't won't really inform a lot of people, but about this fact that I know about you, Isaiah. But I talk to you like every other day on my way home from work, and you're just
There
like,
we go. Yeah, okay, I can hear you again.
oh,
You cut out.
okay.
Yeah, all right. Start that.
I
I'm
said,
so sorry.
what
Start that
you're
all again.
you talking about your life story
Mhm.
won't really like let everyone know this, but I talk to you like every other day on the way home from work,
That's
and
true.
you're just like you're one of the most insightful and intelligent people I know, right? And it's I feel with someone as intelligent as you, I feel like there are a lot of things in your life, then there has to be a lot of systems in your life that have done you a disservice, right? To let someone like you take this long to realize their career, in my opinion, right? There's no world that I could see where like I'm set on my career before you've set in your career. If you understand what I mean by that.
I guess I do and I don't. To be completely honest, I don't think that I think that while you're right, yes, I'd probably test very high in certain areas. I don't think I have the best how do I put this? Impulse control or prefrontal cortex stuff, if you will. You know, uh I can clearly see what I have to do. Um, but I'm not always the best at executing that. So I'm not going to pretend like I'm, not partly to blame for having taken so long. All that being said, um, I guess that's a tough question. I don't, I don't think this is necessarily a me thing or that I'm so much better than anyone else per se. I think is, but what I will say is that I don't think that schools are very well set up in this day and age in the United States of America for actually getting kids ready for life. They focus on a lot of how do I put this nitty gritty things without actually looking at the big picture of what you're going to be doing 40 hours a week for the rest of your life.
I
And I
feel
think
like
that's for everyone.
there's some that to a certain degree they can become like college prep machines, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Right. Which I think is fine. But also I feel like, like things like being able to do your taxes, or like I live in San
I mean,
Diego.
that's the important stuff.
Yeah, or like
Yeah.
what the laws are in the state that you live in. I feel like that's kind of an important thing to like take, how the government works. Like I know we take civics, but like I feel like it's senior year of high school when like you don't care anymore. It's the last semester of the senior year in high school when it's like, okay, I've already been accepted into college. All I have to do is not fail a class and I'll be fine.
That's
Uh,
so true. Hey,
it's like
we should really teach civics in middle school. because
I know.
everyone's like a little Machiavellian asshole in middle school, and that's when it.
I actually disagree. I think it should be your junior year because that's the year that you're trying not to mess up
Ooh,
for college. So you are ready to ace that course, right?
I see what you're saying, and I think that if it were one course, I see your point. I'm going to be honest. I genuinely think that civ
You cut out.
prac.
You generally think that civics, and then I
I'm
messed it.
sorry. Yeah, I genuinely think that civics need to be taught every year, um, or something like that of every kid's life. Like,
Yeah, I don't think
they,
that we needed to learn like U.S. history, the same U.S. history 5 times in a row. Right.
exactly. We didn't need to learn that. We needed to learn what's relevant right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it seems to U.S. history seems to stop at around the Civil Rights Act. As soon as the Civil Rights Act is over, it's like okay, and then history stopped forever.
Yep.
There's no more history. It's
Uh,
just yeah. But
I somehow imagine that everything after that starts to get controversial for some people, which is a little frustrating, but
yeah, yeah, um, yeah. But now that we're done with your life story, let's start talking about masculinity, so the nitty
absolutely.
gritty. So,
A really quick question. Should we talk about your life story briefly, since seeing as this is the first
um,
podcast, or should we skip that for now?
I think we should skip it for now.
Okay.
Maybe I'll have you interview me
Oh,
on a different day. Because
that sounds good.
I feel like you'd be a really good interviewer, honestly. But yeah, I think that it's just too much because I feel like I have a lot, especially when I'm talking about my life story, I have a lot of like canon events to use like a a term that people will get, you know. Um, um, so yeah, so what do you think it means to be masculine?
God.
So
There it is. There's the fucking question.
it's not the controversial question. This is just the hardest question.
Yeah, I know. Man, it's so relative. Um, yeah, I mean, I think what it, God, it's so funny. I'm in a class that's about human sexuality right now. It's just a 100 level class, but it's so interesting. And I guess one thing that it's really bringing to light for me is just how fundamentally um, relative the term masculinity is.
Oh yeah.
I think every culture has, you know, first of all, different cultures have different numbers of genders, right? And within those cultures, I'd say most probably have a concept of a pretty, what do you call it? Pretty traditional dude, if you will. I think that's one of the, and I think they all have different expectations of what that is. I think there's quite a bit of, how to put this, quite a bit of cultures, but, things that generally are true, but and I couldn't quite speak on those.
So
But
you said I'm sorry, you cut out. There's different variations in each culture, is what I'm assuming you said.
something like that. Yeah, I'm just saying that every culture has different expectations of what a traditional male is, um, and is supposed to do with their lives.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, hell, in our culture, different families have different expectations for it.
Hmm.
But man, what do I think? I
That
guess
was my
maybe a
follow-up
better
question.
question is, what do I think it means to be masculine? What does it mean to be masculine? Man, that it's like that almost doesn't have an answer. But I guess what,
You are cut out.
sorry, just to confirm, that is the next question. So I should just continue to answer that, right?
Wait, with your next question, the next question I'm going to ask you that's like on the sheet is what's your most positive masculine quality? What's your most negative masculine quality?
Oh, okay, got it. Okay, so it
But
isn't what does masculinity mean to me as
no,
I define it.
well,
I get
well, the question being, what do you think it means to be masculine kind of encompasses that question. Yeah.
right. No, oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was what. Okay, the way you had phrased it is, what do I think it means to be? Yeah, that is how you phrased it. Yep. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
What do I think it means to be masculine? Man,
Yeah.
I suppose I kind of think self-sufficiency is a pretty to some degree self-sufficiency. Um I mean I'm not referring to like the things that I think are the ideal masculine traits. I'm just, spitballing stuff that, I think is traditionally, I would view as masculine. Good or bad, I would say yeah, on some level, a good citizen, a leader in some ways, somewhat independent, able to take care of one's own stuff. And I guess in some situations to be a provider, although really not necessarily. Um, I suppose those are like the very traditional answers of,
Right, but is that what you think? Or is that just you're giving
and
me traditional answers? If you don't know, that's
I don't
great.
know. Yeah,
That's actually better. Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, that is the truth, man. I don't know.
because you named some things, and I would challenge some of them because
Yeah, go for it.
because there's only one leader in every group, right? Ultimately,
Oh, I disagree.
right?
I think,
Very rarely. Well, when you're doing one activity, right?
yes, when you're doing an activity,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
I would argue being able to, transition who holds the stick, so to speak, the talk or whatever in these kind of leadership situations is a great, that's an aspect or a quality of a well functioning group.
of
Um,
course,
but yeah, I'm sorry, I kind of talked over you there.
no, you're good. You're totally fine. It's your interview. Um, yeah, I think that there's also some things like being a provider that like I think should be like re-looked at, especially as we
Oh yeah.
get into the modern era. So like the traditional view of like the provider, right, would be
Hmm.
like this like a man being the breadwinner, right? And we're being
Totally.
the one that who's constantly working and all that stuff. But I think like one of the aspects of being masculine that I've noticed on like all the like best men in my life, right? Or best men that we see in like media, like whether that's like anime or cartoons or it's, movies or anything. I think is they fill the role that's needed, right? So like just to turn that whole idea on its head, right? If your wife's really good at work and she makes a lot of money, right? And someone needs to stay home with the kids,
Oh
right?
yeah.
It's more masculine, in my opinion, to provide for your family by filling the void of the thing that no one wants to do, right? If your
I
wife really
completely
likes
agree.
if your wife really likes her job, like it's kind of like your job as the man to do like the shitty job, right? I know that sounds
Yep.
bad, but like, yeah, I don't know.
Totally. Or have the privilege of, spending your time with your kids. And,
I mean,
uh,
that's how I view it because
yeah,
I'm
me
a,
too, Heike. That kind of sounds fun.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm a huge,
that's my job. Really sweet.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I'd love to be mother hen, but
Yeah,
I'm
right.
very much not what I would call like traditionally masculine. So one of the reasons why I'm inviting other people on to speak about it rather than me just talking about it because like I don't think hearing all this stuff from me is going to be super helpful.
No, totally. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I mean, the funny thing about, and obviously we both know this. I'm probably not the most traditionally masculine person either.
Right, but you're
Uh,
like very insightful. So having you on is like really good because you'll be able to like kind of break a lot of things down and be able to analyze a lot of stuff. So
I suppose that, or just nitpick semantics into oblivion.
yeah. Um, so yeah, I let's move on to like what do you think is your most positive masculine quality?
Uh, it's a good question. I think I got a couple. Um, I'm able to confront very emotionally challenging material. That's one of them. And I think another is that I'm okay with being very uncomfortable. Like I am comfortable with the idea of being uncomfortable, and I will, if I need to, I will put myself there.
Yeah,
I think those are some of my strongest masculine qualities.
that's like kind of powerful, but I think you do a really good job And luckily I know you, so I can like kind of reframe this for you. You
That's totally
really
true.
you you do a really good job of not letting that overtake you, right? Like me being okay. I know that we're using myself as a ref, like a jumping off point, but
Ah, dude, fine. Yeah, no worries.
um, like I am so like I have this like almost like adaptive misery where like I know if I'm like suffering for someone else, it's like okay, and it's like really challenging and really emotionally draining, and I'm like it becomes my life sometimes, right?
Hmm.
Which is like not good. Like you confront emotionally challenging material until you've hit your limit. You're like, okay, like I think it's time to remove myself. Like you have this really healthy ability to be like, okay, all right, this is getting a little bit whack now. I need to be done.
Well, I mean, all right. I guess I confront emotionally challenge. I think I'm actually not the best at confronting emotionally challenging material in my own life, but for other people's lives, I guess I definitely. How do I put this? I think I confront it in a way that, as long as you're not taking it out on me, like this doesn't. I don't know. Like I'm here for you, but this doesn't affect me. Why should I get upset beyond, empathy?
Yeah, I think well, I think that's like the story of men though. Like I don't think men are very good at confronting emotional like very much emotional challenges in their own life, unfortunately, because you haven't given those tools. Uh,
Here's my most negative masculine trait. No, I'm kidding.
yeah, that's the next
I got
question. So
it. Actually, I think I got one worse than that for a
okay.
negative masculine trait. And I
Yeah,
think I think it's both a positive and a negative one, but it's the way that I really don't ever want to grow up. Like I will continue to be a man child until the day I die,
that's
in certain ways. In
yeah.
fun ways and in ways that just leave others totally exhausted. And I think that that's something that I both have to work on and embrace, depending on what the particular issue is, or well, not the particular issue, the particular subject. Like, never grow up when it comes to the fun things, but I think I need to be a little more disciplined with other things. So I think that's one of my most negative masculine traits.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's a bad thing though. I don't know. I don't
Well, all I'm saying, I'm just saying the lack of discipline can be an issue. That's all I'm saying.
yeah, but I don't think that's like that I think that's actually like traditionally like discipline would be like considered a masculine quality. So like I don't think that like that's necessarily like an answer to the question. I know I'm being like
I
really
don't know.
nitpicky.
I mean, no, you're good, and I would agree. I would argue that discipline is a masculine quality, but I would also think like if you think of like traditionally boyish qualities, one of them is being undisciplined, right?
Right.
Like I'm just saying, like a lot of the dudes, I grew up with in the classroom, the dudes were the bigger troublemakers most of the time. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm. I understand.
maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like that's
It's I mean it's yeah, it's true. But yeah, usually
I,
the class counts are that cause disruptions are like usually boys. Yeah.
usually exactly, and I think we all had a little bit of, well, most of us had a little bit of that in us. So
Yeah.
I would argue that maybe it's a traditionally masculine ideal, but I would argue that it's a how do I put this? If you have two nuts between your legs, you do tend to act a bit more like that,
Yeah.
for what it's worth. Yep.
Yep. I mean, yeah, it's just the nature of like there's gonna even if we like even out all the societal training, I think there's still gonna be disparate outcomes between like men and women when it comes to certain things. And I think that's probably one of them, right? Like men
Yep.
have just more testosterone, especially when they start to hit puberty. They're just gonna be more active and more, I want to say aggressive because it's not necessarily like the word I'm looking for, but if you understand what I mean, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
No, I mean I agree. I think yeah. Yep.
right.
I
Uh,
agree that that's probably one of the things that as society, how do I put this? As gender roles despecify um, on their current trend, I think that is one thing that, like you said, will possibly remain a little bit more or differentiated.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think so too. Um, do you think that, okay, so my next question is like, how do you think traditional masculinity has like either helped or failed you?
Well, I think traditional masculinity, as you and I, and to be fair, I don't think I exactly, my dad, I wouldn't, how do I put this? I want to include this in the podcast. I love my dad. I think he's a great guy. Um, that being said, oh man, do I want to bring this into the podcast? I guess so. How do I put this? I think for better or worse, and this is a little personal, both for good and bad. I think that my dad didn't teach me to behave the way a lot of other guys' dads did teach them to behave.
I mean,
Um,
that's not necessarily a bad thing. Just
it's not necessarily a bad thing, exactly. I think that in some ways it was actually a very good thing. I think that in other ways that definitely there's a bit of a disconnect for me with understanding the guys around me growing up until I got a little older and sort of integrated a little bit more. Um, so I guess the reason I'm saying all that is because I think that I didn't necessarily have a traditionally masculine North Star when I was like a little kid. Um, like I didn't have someone to be like, hey, like I guess, yeah. I don't know. I would say the biggest way in which it was a problem was not understanding how to address aggression. Because my dad is just not a very aggressive person, so which is honestly a good thing. So he never really had too much advice for it. Um,
and I think
when I was a little kid, anyways.
I think it's important to understand that like no parent operates under a perfect system, right? We can
Oh,
only
absolutely not.
inform our children with our own experiences, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Nobody can be perfect. I'm sure I'll have plenty of blind spots if I ever become a parent.
We all will.
Um, Yeah, totally. But so sorry, yeah, the reason I was saying that, obviously, if it wasn't clear to the audience, was absolutely not to bash my dad anyway. It was more just that I'm not sure that I exactly had traditional masculinity as a guide as a kid for the longest time. Um, but I would say that in some ways, I think when I started to be exposed to more of that, I think it helped me, for lack of a better word, just man up about certain things and just get on with certain things. And I think that was one of the better things about it. Learning to just take stuff on the chin and keep going. Like right, okay, that sucks, and it's gonna keep on sucking. But what are you gonna do? You're not gonna, are you just gonna stop doing what you have to do? No, okay, then
Yeah,
you're,
I think to go off of that, I think so. Just to sum it up a little bit, I
mhm.
think most men are introduced to traditional masculinity really early, right? And they
Mhm.
have to kind of piece apart which parts they want to keep, right? I feel like for you it's the opposite. You got no traditional masculinity early on, and you got the opportunity, right, to like reframe this for you. Got the opportunity to pick the parts that you like, right?
Totally.
And you're coming at it with less of a bias, and so it's easier for you to come into your masculinity in a healthy way, in my
Oh
opinion.
shit, I never thought about that. I think you're right. I think you're totally right.
Yeah, I think that now that since you got to pick what parts you're like, oh, I like that, I'm going to take that, right?
Yeah.
Rather than to have it thrust upon you by others and say, like, this is the way you're supposed to be,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly.
Which is, I think, one of the reasons why you're so wonderful to be around. I
Oh,
know,
thanks, bud. I love you too.
I love it too.
Oh. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, I didn't have anyone telling me that it wasn't okay to pee sitting down, except for, you know what I mean? Like, there was nobody in my family telling me that,
Yeah.
even though I, you know, generally preferred to pee standing anyways, but
Oh,
this is so irrelevant.
that's
But
okay.
you know exactly what I'm saying though,
People,
right? You know,
people,
like some guys like growing up, the guys in their family catch them, peeing sitting down, like, hey, that's not how you pee as a man. You know what I'm talking about?
yes.
Yes.
All right. So
I never had that kind of thing. So
we have 10 minutes left. So we're gonna speed run this next question. Okay. Do you have any communities or role models that like have really helped you like grow into your masculinity?
Absolutely. Um, yeah, I've definitely had some that have helped me. I would say a lot of my mentors, like Mark, the retired engineer, or my stepfather. Um, I think a lot of these guys, a couple of bosses at different jobs I've had have been, really positive roles, masculine roles for me. I would actually argue that you have as well. Um,
Really?
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
I
Um,
feel very unmasculine, so it's very interesting that you would say that.
I think you're one of the, you say that, I feel like you're one of the more masculine people I know
Really.
in a lot of ways. Yeah, I mean, at least in the positive, in some ways, in other ways, maybe not. But yeah, no, I think you're one of the more masculine people I know, actually.
Well, I'm honored to be your like role model. Like, yeah, I
Yeah,
love,
I
yeah.
mean, you're definitely, you've always kind of, whenever I say some, you know, you've kind of always been there to be like, hey, is it, be responsible. And I think that's a very positive masculine role model trait, or, you know, uh, point of guidance, if you will, uh, to present others with. Um,
It's that big brother energy. This is the only way I know how to
yeah,
be.
yeah, it's that big brother energy. There it is. Yep, 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 yep. You get it. Also, Michael, he's a friend of mine. He's a bit older. He was kind of like my older brother in high school. Um, yeah, I would say. I mean, I'm sure I'm leaving out tons and tons of people, but and
I mean,
yeah,
it sounds like you have a lot, which is really good. Like, I think that's the more differentiated your role models can be, the less you're like emulating someone, and the more you're like kind of like picking at like the best people that you can find.
totally. And also just like the best things that you can take for yourself, because what works for one person isn't always going to work for someone else. I know I'm
Exactly.
stating the obvious.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of people don't understand that. A lot of people think that there's a lot of one size fits all. You know, you see all the Andrew Tates or whatever. Like, well, a lot of it, even like taking like a positive role model, like some of these Navy SEAL guys, like
Oh, yeah.
there's like 5 Navy SEALs on the planet. Okay. Like if we could make Navy SEALs, like if everyone could be a Navy SEAL, our military would be all Navy SEALs. Just like think about that, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah, because they're the best ones, right? Like we would just do just Navy SEALs. We wouldn't have any normal infantry people.
Exactly. If we could
Yeah,
do some Star Wars, Clone Wars shit. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I hear you. Yeah. Right.
And then do you think that society is trying to remove any positive aspects of masculinity?
I would prop on a whim, I would say yes. I'd have to think about what those are. Um, Honestly, yeah, I would say very specifically taking things on the chin when you have to. Um, I would say that's and I'm not one of those people who thinks that we should just accept the world as a fucked up place and not try to change it. Like, and yeah, when we witness or are subject to unnecessary um, hardship that can be changed, I think we should change it. It's very simple, but sometimes you just have to get through stuff if you want to get what you want to get.
I mean,
And
I think to rephrase your own saying that you just said, well, you should accept the world the way it is. Accept that the world is the way it is, but you should strive to change it.
yes, exactly, exactly. I mean, that goes into what I think a negative trait of masculinity can be, a traditional masculinity, which is, well, it's fine. You're just being,
It is what it is. Yeah.
yeah, it is what it is. You're just being a pussy, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to change. You just need to man up. Like, yeah, no, I think that's a pretty toxic masculine view of the world. So
Yeah. So what do you think about the phrase positive masculinity versus like, because like
I
positive, I'm
love
trying to,
it.
you love it? Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah. I really like it because I feel like it makes people like positive, like your masculinity, I think, should also be positive toward those around you, right? Instead of like healthy masculinity is like internal, I think like positive masculinity is also external. You understand what I mean? Where it can be internal and external.
Totally. Yeah, yeah. I know exactly what you mean by that. I also think the even just saying positive masculinity, I think it, makes a lot of young boys and young men kind of think about how do I, how do I exemplify the positive parts of my identity?
Yeah, I think so too. I'm hoping that it makes people think about like what's positive for myself and what's positive for those around me, right? Rather than, well, you know, how do I be successful? Because like I think like ultimately what you want in life is to be happy. And like being successful to a certain point, you have to be a certain level of successful to be happy, but then how you get past it, like once you get to that level, like then you have to figure out everything else, which is just based on you, not based off of like what society should expect to be.
Hmm.
Right.
What do you mean by that?
So I think that like after you hit a certain level of success, right,
Hmm.
all your bills are paid for, right? You can afford to have a family. You can have, you have your wife or husband or spouse, if it's a non-binary person, anybody. You have somebody to be with, right? Or multiple people or whoever. And you have loved ones around you, right? Like, but those are things like, see, like I just named a bunch of things that are actually like have nothing to do with success, right? Those things that make you happy, that community you have around you, right, is is not related to how successful you are necessarily, right? Once all your bills are paid for, right? That's the level of success you actually need. And then if you are more materialistic, you just want the extra things.
Yeah, I mean, I would argue that some of us want experiences that happen to cost a lot. Um,
That's still a material thing, really. Like it's still like an unnecessary material thing, right?
I mean, it's not necessary to live. I'm going to be completely honest. Part of my take on all that is that I don't think that it's a reasonable thing to expect humans to just want to survive and
So
exist. And
that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that there's like a that's what I'm saying. Or I kind of is what I'm kind of agreeing with you, right?
okay,
There's a
yeah,
certain level of there's a certain minimum level of success, right?
yeah.
That you need to
And past
achieve.
that, it's
And what do you want? What do you want out of
what do you want?
life,
Yeah, what do you want out of life?
right?
Exactly.
It's not
Yeah.
what
Once you achieve that basic level, is yeah, I agree. I agree.
yeah. There's needs and wants, and so you have to be successful enough to achieve all your needs, and then everything else is want.
You know, it's really funny. This reminds me of something that Mark said to me. Because he just retired. And I think very briefly there, he didn't know what to do with himself. He'd poured his entire life into his career, and I'm over here looking at Mark like, yeah, I want a successful life like that. Like, how do I do that? And Mark said to me, he said, and granted, I think he wants to see me get on with my life too, and have a career and do all the things. But he was like, Isaiah, I'm kind of envious of you because you already know what you'll do with all that free time and money. Like you already,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, you already know what the extra stuff is. So I don't know. That's definitely something that stuck with me. But
I definitely think that turning men into GDP machines has that effect. When they finally get to not be GDP machines, they have no idea what to do with their life, right?
exactly.
Like, yeah, it's super bad. Okay, we have less than a minute, and it
Oh
stopped.
God.
The
Does it
countdown
does
has
this
stopped.
okay, wait, does this have to be an exact amount of time on the dot? Because like a lot of other podcasts, they're not.
It'll zoom. Well, Zoom will close, so
Oh,
we at least
okay,
need
I
to
see.
open.
So at least have to open up a new Zoom meeting. Okay,
Yeah,
got it.
yeah. Just warning you that it'll close and we'll have to reopen. And I
Tell you
probably
what, let's just close and reopen it right now because I feel like there's going to be a few more things to say.
all right. Okay.
All right.
Okay. All right. Bye.
Bye.
Now recording.
All right.
Okay, it's gonna be a hard cut in the YouTube because I don't know how to edit things yet. But we had to stop because Zoom only lets us record for like 40 minutes at a time or something. But anyways, so
Yep.
to continue the podcast, I think for the second half of the podcast, since we ended up blowing through all the questions, we're gonna get to talk about anything prescient that Isaiah or I want to talk about. So let's start with
Or
that.
that, chat wanted to ask us as well.
Yeah, definitely. We can do chat questions as
Yep.
well. But Right now, it's just my wonderful wife, Aniha, and I don't think she's going to ask any masculinity questions.
Listen, bro, I was trying to make us sound
Uh,
big. Like here's some big, you know.
this is the
Yeah.
first podcast, okay? I'm not
Yeah.
okay. And wait, I literally did ask a question. It's not in the chat. Oh, have you? Oh, you didn't. Okay, never mind. It's right here. Sorry about that. She goes. She said, "Have either of you had personal experiences with toxic masculinity that altered your views on masculinity? That either made you conform more to norms or go the opposite way?"
Oh, absolutely. Oh my God. Yes. 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 Um,
I think she wanted you to
yeah.
specifically answer.
I. Yeah. Okay. So I guess a very specific answer is one of my bosses at one of my jobs. Maybe I shouldn't divulge more, but it was a pretty traditionally blue collar setting. Um, and Yeah, man, I don't know the way that guy dealt with issues. I was kind of like, yep, I don't ever want to be like that guy. Um, if Tark, I'm not going to say anything more. Yep, that's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, yeah, no, yeah,
No more specifics than that. Yeah.
yeah. Also, don't use people's names too. Yeah, I know, but
Yep.
yeah, I know your stories.
I wasn't referring to any.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean it was a friend's name, not a. But anyways, yeah.
I know. I just don't want anyone to get mixed up. But you're fine. I know that that's not that person. I know those people are different.
Yeah.
Uh, but for me, I think that like one of the worst things that could have happened for me was when I was younger. I was the one who was expected to like kind of like accept all this pain for everyone else, right? And I didn't get to feel anything, right? Or feel any pain, right? I was expected to be the big brother. I was expected to basically be the dad for like a lot of my sisters, right? For all my younger sisters. And so it ended up that like I didn't get to express my feelings, and I I had to suck up everything that everyone threw at me. And I think that like uh, whether it be my family or my friends, and it set this expectation that like I was supposed to put the whole world on my back, and it still harms me today. I think um, in a way that I don't think is fair, and it's like the biggest struggle I have. Like I go to a lot of therapy, and still the biggest struggle I have is just like learning how to let go and just let people deal with their problems, or just go, you know what, I just don't have the bandwidth for that today.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can see that in you. Yeah, I mean, because honestly, you're probably one of the most supportive people I know. To your friends and your family, but I would definitely say that I don't know. I can tell it wears on you. You know.
it can be hard, right? Like something happened with another family member today that I'm just like, it's already like, I don't even know how to deal with that. But it'll be fine.
Oh.
Yeah. Um, and yeah, so that answers Aniha's question. I love you. I'm sorry that we didn't see your question in the chat. Uh, but yeah, is there any other aspect of masculinity you want to explore in the 40 minutes we now have?
Um. Oh, is there anything that you would like to ask? Any spur of the moment, spontaneous stuff?
So one of the things I've been like really sitting on, like, and it really just upsets me. I hate that I let TikTok do this to me, or they let me fall into the rabbit hole of this. Is ick culture for men is insufferable because
Oh yeah.
I've realized something about it that really makes me even more upset than just seeing it. And it's women don't like to see men take, or maybe not all women, okay, just these terrible women, right? But like, so, um,
The PC police. Wee wee wee
these horrible,
wee.
wretched women that are the worst. These specific ones, I guess.
Not referring to all women at all. Dear
Just
God, no.
want to be
We're just
super clear.
Davin is referring to a very specific set of people who
Women,
happen to be women on TikTok.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That make ick videos about their boyfriends and secretly record them. And the thing about that I hate about it is that they think it's ick when like their ick is not like something horrible about a guy, like he likes Andrew Tate, or like he he like doesn't respect, he like doesn't believe women when they have like a credible like essay story or anything like that. It's he found joy in fishing. Like it's just men finding joy in something that's not them. And I think that really upsets me because like one of the worst aspects of masculinity, in my opinion, is this idea that the only way you can find joy is like money and women. You know? That's the
Hmm.
worst part of traditional masculinity. Like you should just be able to find joy wherever, right? Like I love cooking. All right. And I know it's like traditionally a feminine thing, but nothing makes me happier than to be able to like go all day, go to the grocery store, pick out all my ingredients, chop them all up, and just feed them to my wife or whoever's coming over, and just have them be like, oh wow, this is a really good dish, right? That I like made from scratch and like figured out all the things, right? And just
Hmm.
have someone call something that I just enjoy just for the sake of enjoying it, like an ick, like to say that like no man should be able to have that level of joy, just like it makes me so mad, you know?
I agree. It's ridiculous. I will say this is why I stay off TikTok, and I think that I'm going to say what I said about this. The TikTok algorithm is feeding you stuff because because oh, that gets him to watch. Okay, cool. But
To be fair, I follow this one guy who just like compiles a list of all of them.
what do you think the algorithm's feeding him?
Those, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, he probably makes money off of it. He probably has so many followers at this point.
Yeah, I agree. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, there's definitely some people who think that. If I'm being completely honest, I don't think this is. I think this is just a kind of a puritanical culture thing to like, as opposed to there's definitely some gender issues in it, but I think it's kind of a puritanical thing to be like, and if people enjoy something just for the sake of enjoying it, that's sinful. Like I think, I mean, it's a load of horse. It's bullshit, right? Obviously, I'm preaching to the choir when I say that's bullshit, but I don't know. I guess that you know, on a personal level, I'm kind of like, yeah, the same way that I would damn near, I would hope that, how do I put this? Were I in a relationship with someone and I were to say, hey, I think it's really gross that you enjoy this activity, I hope she would dump me on the spot.
yeah, yeah. No, no,
Like,
no, no. Yeah,
you know
and
what I mean? And that's kind of how I feel about it too. I'm like, if someone was like, "Oh, Isaiah's going and doing an autocross again," or "Oh, he's doing a drift event again at the track," like that's so gross. Why did he? It's such an ick. I'd be like, "Okay, we're done." Like,
yeah.
uh,
That's what I'm saying.
done.
Like
Just simple. Like whatever.
that's what,
Like
but
yeah,
that's what I mean, right? Like
yeah.
it's finding joy is not something that should be masculine or feminine or whatever, right? Like,
Hmm.
but because I've seen such a pattern of them that like there's just so many that's like the one that bothered me so much is this, it's like a famous influencer. She saw her boyfriend or partner or whoever, whatever you want to call him. He
Hmm.
was like fishing at the beach, and it's like, and he like caught a fish, and he was like holding it. And he was like so excited that he caught a fish, and she was just like secretly recording him doing this ick video, and I'm just like, why would you do that? Like he looks so happy. Like I wish I could make Aniha that happy all the time, but there's nothing I can
She's
do.
like
You
she's like
know,
the Grinch that stole Christmas. Like
like
it's just
I can only wish for my wife to have that level of happiness at every point,
yeah,
right?
totally
So like, why would you record that and be like, it's icky that he is enjoying himself
ridiculousness.
outside of me? You
I
know?
don't know, man.
Yeah,
I, I wonder if it's because maybe she expects him to act a certain way and just be productive, or maybe she just is one of those people who doesn't enjoy anything in her life, and therefore she has to take it out on those closest to her, like her boyfriend. Like I don't know this girl. She kind of sounds like she just kind of sucks, but I
I don't know. I don't
I
follow
don't
her.
know.
Like,
It sounds like
yeah,
TikTok, bro. Like, you know,
I do think it's like there is an expectation on men
yes,
to like
yes, I,
to grow up and stop being boys, right? You were talking
yes,
about this earlier.
Yes,
right?
I will never grow up.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah, I will keep buying Hot Wheels, right?
yeah. Because why
I
not?
dead ass. I got let's see, I got a Miata on my desk, I got a Tesla on my desk, I got another Miata, and then I have a Porsche, and they're all Hot Wheels, and I love them.
Mhm.
And if someone were to be like, "Hey, Isaiah, that's immature," I would be like, "Fuck you." Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I agree. I think
yeah.
that there there's this expectation upon like men to grow up, and so that they they don't have the equivalent of like, oh, like I like to go shopping. It's like, okay, like, but like men don't like to go shopping. Like, like I'm wearing a pure plain white shirt right now. Like obviously I don't like to go shopping. Um, like we like to play video games. We like to do something like objective based. But then like a lot of those things are considered like childish, right? Which is really sad, right?
Yeah, I agree. It is
Right.
really sad.
Or like watching reality TV is fine. It's more considered adult. But like, is that like really like any better than like watching anime? Like, I don't know if that's true, you
I
know?
think a lot of anime has a lot more to say about the world than reality TV. I mean,
I mean,
apart
yeah,
from just way too much, I'm gonna say this, there's way too much sexualization of things that don't need to be sexualized in anime. That's all I'm gonna say on that for now. But
the
that being said,
yeah.
uh, anime has a lot of animes have like the most interesting introspective takes on the world, and I would argue it's a lot more adult than something like you know, uh, reality TV, where it's literally like, okay, you hire some people who, you know, do a little reading on sociology and go, yep, we take these kinds of people, we put them in the same situation, we take away their phones and any outside influences, and we watch them make out, right? And then we take very specific cuts to make it all seem way more dramatic than it really is. And then we rinse and repeat and do the exact same fucking bullshit every goddamn season. Do I watch it? Yes, I eat that shit right up. Don't get me wrong.
Oh yeah, no hate to reality TV.
If someone
I use it as an
okay.
example of like very consumable content, right?
Right, yeah, yeah, sure. No, I get what
Yeah.
you're saying. I mean, no, I agree. I think they're I don't know. Maybe the culture, maybe it's changing, maybe it isn't. I see some people, and I'm going to be honest. I don't think this is. I think this is both you know, guys and girls, and everyone puts. There's just a segment of humans that put pressure on men not to act like kids, and it's ridiculous. But I mean, there's a segment of the population that puts that pressure on women not to act like kids. Like, you know, I don't know.
I think we're
I'm thinking about Aniha's story, for example. The one where she had that one roommate who wasn't from the US, and that roommate had some like Marvel posters on her wall, and like Aniha thought it was the
oh
coolest thing. And then that woman met a bunch of these sorority girls, and then she took down the posters, and it was kind of like, oh,
yeah, I
it's
think
not
that
just on guys. This is just a thing.
yeah, I don't think it's let me figure out how to phrase this. Not
Yeah,
because it's
sure.
bad, not because it's bad, it's just like trying to make it intelligible for other people.
No, you're good.
Um, I think that a lot of reinforcement on women outside of like evangelical circles, but we can't like argue about from inside evangelical circles,
Sorry for
right?
laughing. Oh God.
Like we can't just be like, well, really Christian people or really Muslim people expect them to grow up and have 20 children. It's like, okay, well, like that's not most people, so relax. Um, but
What's that?
like, what's what?
Oh, nothing. Yeah, I mean, I feel like neither. Sorry, please continue.
Yeah, I think that like women are reinforced more by other women, right, to grow up, right, and be conform, whereas like men are reinforced from both sides. Do you understand what I mean by that?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Because like a man walking in and seeing those Marvel posters would have been like, yo, sweet, this is pretty cool. She's pretty cool, you know? She got some Iron
I feel
Man.
like you might be right. I feel like even if it was like, I'm not trying to hate on, all Greek life, but I just remember how it was when I started college, right? I was kind of a bro, right? but yeah, no, me and my bro stage would have walked in and been like, yeah, that's like really fucking cool. I like want to talk to this person and get to know her.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, no, I see what you're saying. I guess I don't know. I guess personally, I feel like I just can't speak on that. Like, and I'm not one of those people who's like, oh, you can't speak on an experience if it's not your own. I don't agree with that.
No, 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 no.
I genuinely don't think I actually have the perspective to speak on that.
That's fine. I mean, I have five little sisters, right? So it's like
Yeah,
I
I mean,
do.
I've
I do. I've watched it, right? It's like
yeah, no, I
like
get that. Yeah.
I think that the um and they're like, 10 and a half years apart. So like basically a whole generation apart, right? So like,
Hmm.
right, it's something that's not getting better. Um, I think that like just taking it, for example, like if a guy's like really into anime or whatever, just to pick one, uh, both guys and girls, well, guys will be like, yeah, dude, you need to like ditch this anime shit. You need to get some like get yourself, in shape and so you can get some bitches. Like, okay, all right, bro. Thanks, man.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then women will go, oh, dude, he likes anime. Like he doesn't even go to the gym. Like right. Regardless of how you look, like your body composition could not change. Maybe you're just naturally in shape like that or whatever, right? But
Yeah.
like, regardless of if your body composition changes, it just like I feel like there are more normalized hobbies, I guess, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well,
Like,
and honestly, I think that's an issue with. Sorry, to cut you off.
no, you're good.
I think that's a general issue in society. Is the way that there's some hobbies that are considered okay, and other hobbies that are like, why would you do that? Like, it is fucking ridiculous. That is what I will say about it.
I feel like okay, this is unfortunate because it's like it involves like sexualization, but like women, like a lot of times there will be complaints about like a man being too into cars, but like women's real into cars. Every guy's like, damn. Even a guy's not into cars, they'll be like, damn, that girl's into cars, And it's like the same level of like,
Yeah.
right? You
Yeah.
know?
Wait, that's so true. Everyone's like, oh, she's into That's awesome. Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean. That's so funny. You're
Right. So
right.
it's
Yeah.
only single enforced from women. Like or not, maybe not always, right? It's just again, I'm a one person, I can only have so many experiences, right?
Yep.
It's only singly enforced from women. And I feel like
Maybe.
it's double enforced from men, right?
I
Uh,
mean, I
if
think
that
that
hobby
I,
doesn't get you bitches, it's getting better, but if that hobby doesn't get you bitches, other men are gonna be like, especially as young men. If we're old, like, listen, bro, like, I don't care anymore. Okay, I'm out of the game. Okay, I got myself a wife that I really love. Okay, I'm done. Okay, I finished. Got my finished my golf game. I don't have to do any more golf swings. I'm good.
I'm good. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of one of those things where I guess I would argue that I think that I don't know. I think there are some really insecure dudes that are like, oh, she works on cars. No, that's too manly for me. I can't.
That's
Which first of all,
true.
who asked you?
Hold on. That's
Okay,
actually
like,
really
oh,
true. But
that's cool, bro.
I think
Good
that
for
like
you.
wheels back
But like,
around into I think you made a good point, but it also honestly wheels back around into toxic masculinity, right? Like we need to unprogram that. Like
oh yeah, absolutely. Oh no,
it's
this whole
so
thing that like women can't. Sorry. Okay, yeah,
I'm
you talk.
sorry. No, it's okay. I just talked for a while. Go, go, go. This whole thing of
Okay,
what?
so yeah, no, this whole thing where okay, I would argue a pretty common trait of like toxic masculinity is that insecurity of like, well, it can only be guys who act like this. Like, no, I think like women with like some masculine qualities is like awesome. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying
Yeah.
you have to be masculine as a
No, no,
woman,
no.
but you know what I mean, right? It's just like, yeah, no, like I guess right. What I was saying earlier too is just like, there are some people who, there. I think this was worse maybe like when my mom was growing up, right? Where I think there were certain things that maybe were kind of like feel like it might have even been better when she was growing up. Maybe when her mom was growing up. I don't know. But like point being, there have definitely been guys who've been like, oh, well, I'm only going to teach the guys this, or like, you still see in like some autocross groups, like, like there's a. I'm not saying like this is necessarily a bad thing, but there's like, just in motorsports in general, like there's kind of like a thing of like, oh, she's like the best woman driver instead of like she's the best driver, period. Like, because frankly, I'm going to be honest, like motorsports do not need to be divided by genders, right? Like, this is very much a sport where men and women are on completely equal footing, right? Like,
I
they're
don't I don't know if you said the background, but you do, just so everyone in the audience knows, you do motorsports. Like you're not picking a random example. Like you do
yeah, that's true.
motorsports.
I'm not just pulling this out of my ass. This is
Yeah,
like, yeah, I've done some grassroots drifting,
yeah.
Um, and yes, you can drift to stock Miata for anyone wondering. Um, anyways,
I'm just gonna go off of that since you gave your example. It's like, I mean, I'm a small guy, right? I'm 5'4", right? I'm 140 pounds, right?
yeah.
And I've only been smaller, you know. So like I rolled with a lot of girls. Okay, I went rolled meaning like done jujitsu and martial arts with a lot of women because they're just
Mhm.
my size and they still continue to be my size. There's
Yep.
so many girls, especially growing up, that like these men will just be like, I don't know, man. I feel like she could kick my ass, and I was like, I feel like that's a you problem, dude. Like why does that bother you? Like
Yeah, exactly. Why does that
she's
bother
not
me?
gonna beat you up, bro. Like
I date a girl who was stronger than me.
it's
Yeah.
just it's just so there's something so wrong with your first thing goes like, I need to be able to physically dominate this woman. Like, you don't.
Yes. No,
You
you don't.
don't. You don't. You'll never need to do that. Everything's gonna be fine.
Oh,
I promise.
oh my God. No, totally. I agree.
Yeah. Um,
That's so funny.
it's just so it's toxic. It's toxic. I don't
I
like
agree.
it.
It's toxic. Instead of, and that's where the insecurity comes in, right? Because instead of it being, oh, in order for me to feel more masculine and affirm my own masculinity, I need to get bigger. I think that's fine, right? Like you can go work out, whatever, right? Go eat more protein. That's fine, right? If instead of that, it's, oh, well, I just need this other person or girl to be smaller. That's like, oh, okay, that's kind of toxic,
Well,
That's just my hot take.
I mean, it's not. I don't think it's not. I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe it is a hot take. But like, there's so
For
many.
some people, it's a hot take. I don't know, bro. Listen,
Yeah.
forget.
But
We're still stuck in the Stone Ages as humans.
it's
Don't.
like it just frustrates me because it's just like that's like your internal feeling. Like you're making up an extra reason why you don't like this person, right? That's not anything about them. It's something about you, right? Like them being able to like do martial arts or working on cars or like or like lifting a lot. Like that has nothing to do with who they are as a person, right? Like
Yeah,
why are you like this?
totally. Well, the other crazy thing is like, okay, I know we said we were mostly just going to talk about men's issues in this
We talked
podcast,
we,
but
we talked
I
about
feel
women a
we
little
did
bit.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, all right. This is one other thing I see some guys doing. I think it's some bullshit, right? Like, oftentimes I feel like I see guys, they when they see other guys doing things differently than they expect, they'll be like, "Oh, that's cool, bro. That's you," And then they see women looking like doing something that they wouldn't want out of a partner, even though they're never going to be in any sort of partnership with this woman. She's just another person in the world for all intents and purposes. And they're like, I don't know, that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Like
Don't
it's like, why?
don't name any
She's just
examples of that
another
because
person.
I don't want to make anyone feel bad about like their like how they look or anything like that. So don't name any examples, but I know
Yeah,
exactly what
yeah,
you're talking
I won't.
about. No,
Yeah.
it's fine.
Well,
But
I'm also referring to like women who like are, really, really strong, like power lifters. Like a lot of guys will look at that, and because they're so like stuck on like, yeah, okay, I guess I'll stop. You know what I mean? It's just
I
guys
yeah
are so stuck on sexualizing women that like they will oh God, all right, I'm on
I
my soapbox. They will like whatever it is, the hobby, the way someone looks, anything. They will judge a woman in a way they will not judge a guy, even though they realistically would, under no circumstances, actually be considering talking to this person in a romantic setting. You know what I mean? It's just
I
like
I actually disagree with you.
you really okay, yeah, I'll
I
take
think
that.
a lot of men will do find these women attractive, and inside of themselves, I've seen it happen. Okay, I used to have a friend in high school who I watched it happen. This one girl was a half an inch taller than him, and he loved this woman. Would not touch her because she was a half an inch taller than him.
So
All right.
funny.
And I understand that you shouldn't judge someone by being in high school, so this is a bad example. But like, just for your high school aged men, like half an inch though, really? Come on, bro. This is not cool. This is something inside of you, you know? Like, and he was like 5'10", 5'11", bro. It's not like he was just short, you know? Uh,
Just check out chat.
I did, yeah.
Okay, we'll not. Maybe we shouldn't repeat that, but
No, no, no.
that's so funny.
But it's these things like so like it's not. It's this aspect of masculinity for some reason that we have programmed into men. It's like it's absolutely something that, and so something that like women aren't going to change about men. We can yell up and down about how we want this to change about men. Only men are going to be able to change this, right? We got to stop looking at each other when your girl's taller than you, right? Or when like you're the one who like likes to bake and she's the one who does she's a cage fighter, right? Like
Yes.
who fucking
Who
cares,
the fuck cares? Exactly.
right? Like I don't
I'm
think
just
that
happy you guys both have hobbies. That's awesome.
I also
You're not
don't think
boring.
I
Sorry.
also don't think your hobbies should be considered masculine or feminine. They are
Oh,
activities.
absolutely. Oh,
They
yeah,
are not
absolutely not.
inherent
Yeah.
parts of your being. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because
Preach,
like
preach, brother. Yes.
I consider myself fairly effeminate for like a straight guy, right?
Hmm.
All right, I am 100% straight, but I consider myself fairly effeminate for a straight guy. But like, if you look at my hobbies, like I like to cage fight, bro. Okay, that's my hobby. All right, I was ranked in the nation in jujitsu. Okay, all right,
So
this is
funny.
pretty. It's pretty traditionally masculine, but like, I don't think that shouldn't be an aspect you look at me and go, oh, you did football for 10 years. Oh, you wrestled. You're a real masculine dude. Like what? Like no. Like I don't know.
I'm thinking of one of our friends who, um, uh, since we said we're not going to name names, but
Yeah, just talk around
um,
it.
yeah, I'll talk around it. He's gay, and he played football. Um, I think he played football.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay, yeah, he played football, and it's just like he's probably one of the most effeminate, guy,
men. Yeah,
yeah, one of the
yeah,
most effeminate men I know who identifies as a guy, like, and strictly as a guy.
yeah,
And yeah, he played football. Like,
yeah. We divorce these like hobbies, I think, from
yes,
being like divorce hobbies from being like masculine or feminine. I think that's like
I completely
very,
agree.
it's very silly,
Yep.
right? I think that it needs to be more part of your inherent being, right? But I also don't think that like again, I consider myself fairly effeminate for somebody who's straight, right? But like I don't hate myself, right? I love myself, right? I'm a good person. People love to be around me, okay? Like not to toot my own horn too much, but like I'm very at peace with
People
myself.
love me.
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
kidding.
But like I'm very at peace with
No, I
myself.
get it, man.
Yeah, we got
Yeah.
10 minutes. We got 10 minutes again. So we'll wrap at the end of this. We'll actually wrap.
Yeah,
But
okay.
but yeah, like I'm very like I don't know about you, Isaiah, but like I'm very at peace with myself and like how masculine I am. But like it should just be like a framework. And if you go outside the framework, like and you find success or you find happiness in your life, good for you, right?
Yep.
This masculinity should just be a framework for men, right? So they can go, I don't know where I'm going. I can follow this. It'll bring me somewhere, and then I can bounce off of it. That's my opinion.
That's a great idea. I think that's maybe the best take on what masculinity should be that I've ever heard.
right? Well, that's why I started this podcast, so I can talk about it, so I know how to build this framework, or so that,
Yep.
if I have repeating guests like you on, right? Or so,
Davin's 10-step plan.
it's exactly right. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah. So I can understand in my mind what masculinity is, so that I can build a framework, right, and give it to other people for free. You just gotta go on YouTube, pay me money, and pay me ad rev. Okay. um, but yeah, I don't know.
Yep. I mean, yeah. You know, I was gonna make a joke about how it's all just to get rich, but I think Andrew Tate already made that joke. So.
Yeah, well, yeah. I don't have any enough. Yeah, I don't have a Bugatti. Okay, I don't know. I don't know where to rent a Bugatti and pretend I'm rich so that I can get rich.
Oh my
So
God.
that
Yeah,
I can buy a real Bugatti later. Okay.
yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I think even
Yeah.
if you do become that wealthy one day, I don't think you're gonna be.
Yeah.
Anyways, I guess this isn't
You mean
super
you mean
relevant.
I'm not gonna? No, I'll say it. I don't care.
Yeah, you're not gonna be a fucking jackass. Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
I'm not gonna sex traffic women. Okay, to Romania, and
Oh my
then
God.
out loud be like, yeah, I live here because I can do whatever I want and just pay off the government. Like, and then the
Oh,
government's like, why would you say that? Now we have to prosecute you, which is
oh my
good. Which is good, by the
God.
way. They should definitely do that. They should
Oh,
definitely
oh
get
man.
him.
No, yeah, fuck that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, you know, I don't know.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, is there anything that you would like to? There's only 7 minutes left that we can even do this. So, is there anything that you would like to shout out or anything?
Yeah. Shout out to all my positive masculine role models. Um, maybe you know who you are, maybe you don't. Uh, I don't know. I guess I'll give a quick list. Mark, Michael, you, and many, many more. And my dad, like my bio, my dad, my stepdad. Um, yeah, I guess there's one other thing I wanted to throw in here.
Yeah.
Um, no, actually, yeah, I'll just leave it there. I'll leave it there.
No, 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 you're fine.
No, no, no. It really it didn't need to be. Yeah, I'm just
Okay.
gonna leave that there. Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
I guess yeah. No, the thing is, I feel like I'm kind of like my dad definitely he was a role model definitely for or is a role model for some parts of how to be a guy, just not how to be a traditionally masculine guy. And I don't want anyone to obfuscate that or get that confused. Like he's a great role model. Um,
Well,
I
I
just meant
think.
that I just don't. Yeah, yeah,
Well, I mean, listen. Like, my mom is an incredible role model, but
yeah,
like, she's not masculine. Like that's
yeah.
okay. It doesn't make you a bad person to not just not be a masculine role model, right? Being a role model, especially for your child, is enough, right?
I agree. Yeah,
Yeah. So
I agree. And I'm not trying to emasculate my dad either. That's the other thing.
no, 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 no.
Okay, this is getting too deep.
No, you're fine. You're trying to
Oh
cover up
man,
too much. Okay,
yeah,
Isaiah.
I really am. I really am.
Right? I
Okay,
like we said earlier, right? You don't have to be masculine to be like a good person or a good man, right? It's silly. It's a
true.
silly thing to impress upon men, right? You should focus on the works that we do for others to judge if they're like good or not, right? Not like how hairy their chest is, right?
Yep, pretty
Yeah.
much. Well, hopefully, the world doesn't cancel us for.
We
I
were
don't.
only slightly out of pocket, okay?
I think you're right. I think if anything here was taken as too much of a hot take, honestly. I don't
Yeah.
know what that says about the world.
Well, I feel like you weren't very out of pocket. I feel like I was more out of pocket. I
You're
was
probably a
well,
little more out of pocket.
yeah, I don't care. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna close the podcast now. Thank you so much, Isaiah. I love
Yeah,
you.
man.
I really
Love you too.
appreciate yeah, I really appreciate you coming on, being my first guest. Um, I I want to shout out my Discord channel, which will be in the description. I want to shout out and I want to shout out change.org petition that I have to end child marriage in the United States, because we still have that. So yeah, we should not do the child marriage. That'll also be a link in the description. Um, yeah. So any last thoughts? Last thing. Any last things to say, Isaiah?
Um, nope. I guess that's about it.
All right.
Man, I
If you
forgot about that petition you made. It's a good petition. I
as
feel
opposed
so
to
bad for laughing.
well,
Oh man.
it's just funny because how hard it's been to like get people to sign it. It's very upsetting.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like the social experiment of some
Yeah.
sort, right? Like, I mean, it's something I think that most of everyone around you mostly agrees with, but I don't know. It's,
Uh. Yep.
anyways, yeah.
No, it's okay. That's a different subject. We can talk about that. Could
Yep.
be a different day.
That's a different
Not the mask.
podcast.
Yeah.
Yep.
Um. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Thanks so much, everyone. If you've made it this far, maybe leave me a like, a subscription. There's gonna be more podcasts, I promise.
Yep.
Okay. Bye bye.
All right, bye.